Alright, let's dive into this. So here's the deal. I stumbled across this Pittsburgh Post-Gazette menu structure, and honestly, it blew my mind how much storytelling potential exists in something as mundane as a website's navigation. But wait, there's a Pirates game result buried in there about Gregory Soto blowing a save, right? Let's unpack this because the real story isn't just about one pitcher's bad night. It's about what happens when local media becomes a mirror for a city's sports soul. First off, the Pirates dropping back to .500 after Soto's meltdown in Cincinnati. Personally, I think this moment is a perfect microcosm of why small market teams struggle. Let me explain. When your closer gives up a game-tying homer in the ninth, it's not just a statistical blip. It's a visual representation of how razor-thin the margins are for non-elite bullpens. What many people don't realize is that Soto's contract year pressure isn't just personal drama. It's a systemic issue. Teams like Pittsburgh can't afford to stockpile relievers, so they gamble on high-upside arms who might crack under consistent workload. That's the hidden cost of budget baseball. Now, zooming out to the Post-Gazette's menu structure, this is where it gets fascinating. Look at how they've got separate sections for Pirates, Steelers, Penguins, but then collapse all college sports into one category? That hierarchy tells us something profound about Pittsburgh's identity. From my perspective, this isn't just poor UX design. It's a physical manifestation of how the city prioritizes its sports fandom. The big three pro teams get royal treatment while college programs, despite Penn State's national relevance, get shoved into a catch-all. What does this say about us? That we're emotionally invested in brands, not just talent. It's the same reason fans will defend a struggling franchise player but boo a college freshman making one mistake. Here's where things get weirdly connected. The Pirates' .500 record mirrors this media structure. Just like the website tries to balance comprehensive coverage with local favorites, the team's management walks a tightrope between competing now and rebuilding. A detail I find fascinating: how both the newspaper and the ball club are legacy institutions fighting digital-era relevance. The PG's endless classified subpages feel like the sports version of having 12 interchangeable middle relievers. You keep throwing stuff at the wall hoping something sticks. But let's circle back to Soto's outing because there's a bigger pattern here. When a pitcher gives up a game like that in Cincinnati, it's easy to scream meltdown. But if you take a step back and think about it, how often do we judge baseball moments in absolutes? A blown save is only catastrophic if you ignore context. What if this actually helps Soto? Sometimes failure under pressure is the best teacher. The Pirates might look back at this game as the moment their closer learned to harness chaos. Isn't that the underdog story we crave? The redemption arc where the stumble becomes the setup for the comeback? This makes me wonder, how do we measure success in sports media? The Post-Gazette's exhaustive menu suggests they want to cover every angle, but does that depth translate to meaningful analysis? When I see public notices sharing menu space with Pirates, it raises a deeper question about the purpose of local journalism. Are they chroniclers of community life or amplifiers of collective passion? Because here's the thing, that Pirates loss article probably got more page views in 5 minutes than the obituary section sees all week. But which one truly matters in the grand scheme? So here's my closing thought. The next time you see a headline about a blown save or a .500 record, ask yourself what narratives we're prioritizing. Are we getting lost in the immediacy of wins and losses while the real stories, the ones about institutional identity, community values, and how we consume information, play out in the background? Because honestly, the Pirates season might hinge on Soto figuring out his mechanics, but Pittsburgh's sports soul depends on how we choose to tell these stories. What do you think? Should local media be the voice of the fan or the conscience of the city? Drop your take in the comments.